of us, those of you listening to me overseas, and we will continue talking about the good and the good and the bad, the ugly segment of this show, and we'll do so right now. Some more good. College football had a fun weekend too. We had Clemson ending the longest win streak in the country by beating Auburn. We saw Miami trounce Ohio State. And all my years of watching college football and watching Ohio State football, I've never seen them beat up. I've never seen an opponent take the football to Ohio State the way Miami did. They deserve a lot of credit for what they did amidst all the controversy that is getting crazier, as I'll mention later on in possibly the ugly section, which is actually kind of a funny one. But much props to Miami. I guess UCLA left its toughness card in Texas last year because Texas came out here last weekend and absolutely punched UCLA in the mouth. I mean, 49-20 in the Rose Bowl, 100,000 people there, and probably half the crowd was Texas fans. But big shout out to Texas. And I guess Syracuse found out that, that intricate offense stuff don't work when you got a defense like USC can put out there, because USC took them to the woodshed. And Oklahoma caught a break when E.J. Manuel got hurt. But, great teams find ways to win. And Florida State was completely game. I give them credit for playing hard and doing what they do. But at the end of the day, the best team on the field was the Oklahoma Sooners, and they won the game. Maybe not so impressively, but the simple fact is they won, and they continue to be the number one team in the land. This weekend, there's some good college football games. We got Texas A&M taking on Oklahoma State, in which should be a wild shootout. Last year's game was a 35-31 game. I think this year will be probably 45-35 because Oklahoma State's offense is unstoppable. Mr. Blackman as a receiver is unguardable. He's big, he's physical, he's fast. And if Mr. Whedon gets time to throw the ball, Oklahoma State will light Texas A&M up. LSU going to Morgantown is an intriguing game only if the first half West Virginia is still in the game. If West Virginia can physically, stack up with LSU in the first half, we might have an upset in this game. But we shall see. West Virginia plays these SEC teams pretty tough. Last year, LSU only won by a touchdown. And then West Virginia in the past has beaten SEC teams in bowl games. So, granted, it's not the same team, but West Virginia's not afraid of the big bad SEC. And Florida State and Clemson. Had Florida State beaten Oklahoma, this game would be extraordinarily intriguing because, Clemson's coming off beating Auburn, and with Florida State coming off that, if they had won, both of these teams would have been so sky high. And I guess the challenge this week for good old Jimbo Fisher is to make sure his team is up and mentally ready to play. But it's going to be very difficult to come up after what happened last weekend down in Tallahassee. Clemson, they have a very, very talented offense. And if EJ can play, maybe Florida State will win this game. But, again, Clemson better put Florida State away early because if we let them stick around, they're going to take it on the chin. And out here in the Pac-10, we got a couple good matchups as USC and Oregon are going to take on the Arizona schools respectively. Both Arizona schools have ability. It's just that for some reason, Arizona can't seem to stop anyone, and Arizona State just finds ways to lose games because of inexperience at the quarterback position. There's no way in the world Arizona State should have lost to Illinois last week. But they get the Trojans down there, which they always play them well, and Oregon's going down to Arizona. It'll be interesting to see how well both teams respond after disappointing performances in the previous week. Some more good. A big shout out and congratulations to Mariano Rivera for setting the Major League saves record. 602 saves from possibly the greatest closer, not possibly, from the greatest closer in the history of the game. It's apropos. He is clearly, without question, this generation's most dominant, single performer at his position. The Yankees clinch now the East and clinch the playoff spot. And this weekend they get the Red Sox, as the Red Sox are literally treading water, which we'll talk about them later on. Robinson Cano is throwing his name into the MVP race with his amazing clutch hits, and he's been doing that all season for the Yankees. So they're going to have a dickens of a time picking an MVP. The Tigers are in. The Brewers are about to get in. And if Arizona wins one game this weekend, I believe they'll be in. So we're going to have an interesting fall classic this year. We'll see what happens. One more good. The Sprint Chase Cup race has begun. In English, what I was trying to say was the Chase Cup just got underway. And Tony Stewart won his first race for the first time in a long, long time. Jimmy Johnson has won 5 times in a row. Can he make it a 6? We're going to find out. This week they're in New Hampshire, and weather permitting, we'll see what happens as these teams try to position themselves to put themselves in a spot to win this cup and rip it from Jimmy Johnson's hands. Johnson and a bunch of other drivers last week all ran out of gas during the race, which allowed Tony Stewart, who apparently has done this at this course in New Hampshire a couple of times where he's had leads and dominating this race and run out of gas himself. So it's kind of funny talking about NASCAR when you're finding out guys are losing races because they're running out of gas. And we'll be back to talk about the bad and some fantasy football on 89.7 K LASFM after this.